Hey guys, how's it going? It's 8-Bit Eric, and it's no stranger to this channel. I cover a lot of Nintendo Switch eShop, indie titles, low budget titles, all sorts of titles, the shovelware. And one exploit that has been constantly used by indie developers on the Switch eShop was using a very low price to drive sales to your game. In fact, it was one of the only ways that indie developers could get noticed at all on the eShop beyond your initial launch date. You would find indie developers constantly making their games available for 1 cent, for 5 cents, for 99 cents, just so they could actually stay on the bestsellers list or the great deal section so they could get some kind of advertising spot on them. Because let's be honest, the eShop has needed a big overhaul for quite some time. If you're an indie developer, good luck. Past your launch week or your launch date even, your game is going to get lost in the fold of the eShop amongst thousands and thousands of other indie titles that just, boom, fly underneath the radar. Honestly, that's a big part of why I do what I do on this channel and cover smaller known titles, even the not so great indie titles, because they get lost in the shuffle, and I don't really see many people cover them or talk about them or even do any kind of coverage or let's play footage or reviews. So on my channel, I tend to cover these games even though they really don't get any traction or views. But let's be honest, a lot of these titles, a lot of these developers take advantage of the ability to put a 1 cent price on their game so they could get noticed a lot more than if they played it by the rules. Well, now Nintendo made a huge change. This was kind of floating around a few weeks back that they were going to implement some changes on their eShop to where people could no longer price their games lower than $1.99. So we're going to still see people game the system and put prices for $1.99 so they could be in the bestsellers or great deal section, but ideally this will probably eliminate a lot of the riffraff from the eShop. They definitely need a bigger overhaul, but let's go ahead and check a look at this because this is a big change for the eShop. RGT85 talked about this in a video. I've been meaning to talk about this as well. So Switch eShop game prices can no longer be below $1.99, says Death Squared developer. Nintendo has supposedly implemented new rules. And I love Death Squared, by the way. I covered that game when it came out a couple years ago. So Nintendo is supposedly putting a stop to small-time developers gaming the Switch eShop charts with dirt cheap deals by placing a limit on pricing. So yeah, as I mentioned, small developers game the eShop. If you put a game up there for a penny, you're going to be in the top 10 games of that week, and people are going to buy. Even though you probably are taking a hit on development cost, if you sell 1,000 copies of your game at 1 penny, that's 1,000 different copies of your game sold, according to the eShop. They don't care about, ratings or rankings or anything like that on the Nintendo eShop. It's all about how many of that copy of game can be sold, regardless if it's making millions of dollars or hundreds of dollars. If it's selling the best, it will be in the top sellers. So that's how it's been gamed. Now it says this information comes from SMG Studios via Reddit. In a brief reply message, it highlighted how a 99-cent sale on the game Death Square would be its lowest price ever on Nintendo Switch, as new rules in place on the Switch eShop now apparently prevent developers from pricing games below $1.99 USD. Obviously, this excludes free-to-play titles, so I guess maybe if you make a free-to-play title, you could still game it. I don't know. So you could see this is the lowest price it will ever be. New rules on the eShop meaning no game can be below $1.99, and this is 99 cents because I planned this sale back in August, so I beat the system. So they locked out. They beat the system by putting it on sale since back then. Now it goes on to say, although Death Square is no longer on sale, a quick look at the Switch eShop reveals there's still a number of games available for less than $1.99, which is 99 cents. They include Plague Road, Hopiko, Night Swap 2, and Ain't Gravity Tiny's Adventure. Perhaps the developers of these titles locked in sales before these new rules came to play, like SMG. So yeah, definitely an interesting tale of the tape to see how smaller indie developers are going to try to gain traction on the eShop now. So you can see, according to a story over on Polygon, Nintendo recently stopped games that cost a single cent from making the bestsellers list on the Switch eShop. And you would see these flooding the bestsellers. You would see like Cubics Paint and like all these random, like really terrible Switch games in there. There's also apparently a rule in place now preventing developers from providing 100% discounts if a user already owns a game from the catalog. Now, I do know a couple of companies would do that. That if you own, let's say, 2 of these games over here, this new game that came out will be completely free. So people would be like, yo, buy our other games and you'll get this game released free. I've seen a lot of developers do that. I'll randomly log into the eShop and see I can get like 4 free Switch games just because I have these other games previously downloaded. That is now gone as well. Let's check the look at this article on Polygon real quick. So Nintendo's blocking Switch games from extreme eShop discounts. This was a problem that was plaguing the eShop. I will say that. So this goes on to say, while the Switch is a great system, one of its biggest flaws has to be the eShop. In addition to being slow and hard to navigate certain tabs, yeah, it definitely is. Like the bestsellers or great deals page, were often notoriously full of dubious games of varying quality. Said games only became visible because developers figured out that if you price games for a pittance, you can manipulate the system and top the charts, regardless of quality. After all, what do potential buyers have to lose when a game costs only a penny? So yeah, that was definitely a way to game it. To game the system. Now it's gone. So it says, while things seem to be changing and have been for a while, according to a recent report in Simon Carless' Game Discovery Go co-newsletter, according to Carless, Nintendo previously put a hold on allowing games that cost a single cent from getting on the best sellers list. Indeed, when Polygon checked on Thursday, there were only games that cost at least $1.99 and above listed on the Switch eShop's best sellers tab. So they made some changes on the best sellers tab for the best. Now, I think they do need to make some changes as far as navigation goes on the Switch eShop. Maybe better search options. It's really clunky. It feels outdated. It's horrible. And matter of fact, I would say the Wii U eShop was a lot easier to navigate than the Switch eShop. So changes are also afoot for the Great Deals tab, which is mostly populated by well-known games or discounted titles that cost at least $1.99 as well. Nintendo did not immediately provide comment. They usually don't. Granted, $1.99 is still extremely cheap for video games. At least having a bar for what can qualify can help stop some shenanigans. So that's true. A stopgap was apparently also put into place to disallow developers from providing 100% discounts. So, yep. There's definitely a huge number of games released every week. So this is a good method of at least controlling the floodgates in the eShop, which still needs a lot of work. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.